And it kind of makes sense that your job has a huge effect on whether or not you get divorced.
Why does it have a huge effect on why you get a divorce? If marriage is just based on two people loving each other, why is it that a man's job, I'm assuming you're talking about men's work here, I still haven't bothered checking that one out, but why is it that what you do for a living affects whether or not you're going to get a divorce if all that it's about is two people loving each other? Now, just like you're not really answering the question here. You're just throwing up a bunch of stats and interpreting it the way you want to interpret it.
So let's talk about your age, because age definitely affects divorce. Obviously, the younger you are, the more likely you are to make a decision that is not really the best decision for you. So they found that 48% of those who marry before the age of 18 are likely to divorce within 10 years. So almost half of the people who get married before 18 are going to end up divorced.
Yeah, okay, so here's a stat that's saying 43% of 18-year-olds get divorced within 10 years. And previously you showed us a stat that said 41% of all first marriages end in divorce. And so there's some sort of correlation here, but correlation doesn't mean causation. Then you're showing the next stat was 60% of second marriages end in divorce. So as they get older, the women file for divorce more often. That's all that this is showing. And like for MGTOW, it's like, what? So what? We're not getting married, right? The divorce rates are not affecting MGTOW. Like, and I know MGTOW who've never been in relationships, right? I know MGTOW have never been divorced. So to be quoting all this stuff about divorce at MGTOW, it just reinforces the men who have gone MGTOW after a divorce. This reinforces their view, and rightly so. And for the MGTOW who haven't been divorced, this is just, so what? Irrelevant.
Compared to 25% of those who marry after the age of 25. Now it makes sense why the divorce rate seems so high, right? When we see that statistic of 41% of first marriages fail, well, remember, there are 16-year-olds who get married. There are 18-year-olds who get married. Those people tend to end up divorced because they haven't really formed an identity yet. They haven't lived their life, had a career, had the life experience that we all need to make a sound decision when it comes to choosing our life partner, which is one of the biggest decisions that we'll make throughout our whole life.
Look, you can't say that about why people are getting divorced at 41% in the first marriage. Like, you can't say that they're not making the right decisions because they're too young. There's cases where women have been married 60, 70 years. In fact, I know of a couple who have been married over 60 years. The man just died recently. And they're in an old person's home. And they got married before they were 20. So, to say that a marriage won't last if you're under the age of 18 or whatever it is, under 25, you can't comment on why the reason is just based on the statistics that you've shown. You've got no grounds to make the statements that you're making in this case.
This statistic basically shows that it's better to wait until you're at least 25 to get married. They're saying that those who wait to marry until they are over 25 years old are 24% less likely to get divorced. So you're increasing your chances of a successful marriage just by waiting until you're 25. So divorce is so complex, whether it's your job, your age. Now let's get into your educational background and your intelligence score. So let's talk about how your education and your intelligence actually affects divorce rates. So high school dropouts are 13% more likely to get divorced. That is not very alarming. Obviously, if you haven't even finished high school, you probably don't have the mental capacity to deal with tough times, to go through sacrifices and compromises, and to maintain a long-term healthy relationship. I mean, having a healthy marriage is hard work.
No, it's not hard work to have a healthy marriage. What's hard work is dealing with fucking Western women and their unrealistic expectations. That's where the hard work comes in. No, and what you've just said about the high school dropouts, it's just insulting. Listen, there are many, many reasons why people drop out of high school or university. And to say that it's just down to their mental abilities is rubbish. All kinds of reasons affect people's lives that make them make that decision. And it's got as much to do with poverty as it does with mental ability. So you can't draw the conclusions that you're drawing from these statistics. It's just, you're all wrong on everything I've seen so far. It's simplistic bullshit, or you're simply twisting the stats to fit your narrative. Now, you make up your mind on that one. It's not up to me. But what you're saying is, it beggars belief.
It's not a walk in the park. And if you can't even get through, high school or college, then it's unlikely that you're going to have the ability to last with someone through the ups and the downs. So individuals who attend college have a 13% lower risk of divorce. So actually going to college can help give you a higher chance of success in your marriage, which...
Right, you've clearly not thought about what you're saying here, because there are two very famous high or college dropouts in the world. One of them would be Bill Gates, and the other would be Jeff Bezos, I believe, and there's Mark Zuckerberg. They all dropped out of college, not because they were too stupid to be there, but because they had the ability or the drive to make the most money anyone's ever made in the history of the fucking world. Bill Gates recently just got married, divorced, and so did Jeff Bezos. So dropping out of high school or out of college is like, try and draw these conclusions from these stats. You can't do it.
Is crazy, right? Because when you think about it, your first thought when you go to college isn't, hey, this might help me have a long-lasting relationship, but it actually is. And furthermore, those with below average IQs are 50% more likely to be divorced than those with above average IQs. So clearly, people who are intelligent are able to maintain not only probably, better careers, but even better relationships. Now let's get into why people get divorced. This is when it makes sense why women are generally the ones initiating it. The number one reason why people file for a divorce, at 73% of those filing, is a lack of commitment.
Right. Lack of commitment. What does that mean? What actually does that mean? That is a nebulous term. The most used excuse for a divorce is an absolutely nebulous term. I feel a lack of commitment, or My partner has displayed a lack of commitment. What does it mean? What does that mean? It means nothing. And why should people tell anyone why they're getting divorced? Right? Why shouldn't people just tick the box to a nebulous term?
So obviously, if the woman is the one filing for divorce because of a lack of commitment, it's generally because her partner is not giving her the time, the attention, the care that, that we all deserve in a marriage.
No, a marriage is a partnership. It's two people working together to improve their lot, to improve the lives of their children. That's what a marriage is. It's not time and commitment that I deserve. It's not this idea that somehow just because you're a woman you're entitled to something special. That's not what marriage is about. And the other thing is this idea that women are filing for divorce because their partner has displayed a lack of commitment. They can be ticking that box because they themselves feel a lack of commitment to the marriage, to the man, to the husband. Right? You're perpetuating the male perpetrator, female victim narrative. And that's a theme throughout your videos.
The second one is that they argue too much, and the third one at 55% is infidelity. So clearly we see here that women are filing for divorce more often so because their partners are showing a lack of commitment or are involved in affairs.
No, okay, there's just no. There are stats that show that men and women cheat on each other and at the same rate. All right, so this idea that women are filing for a divorce because their husbands have been unfaithful at 50% or whatever it is, it's bullshit, okay? How about the man discovers the wife is unfaithful and he kicks her out of the house and throws all his stuff out and says, if you don't come and collect it, I'm going to fucking burn it. And then he gets on with his life, and at the end of the day, when all the dust settles, the woman files for divorce. How's that for a scenario? No, this idea that women are little angels and would never cheat on their husbands needs to be shut down as fast as possible because it's absolute fucking crap. And the idea that you're sitting there telling that men are the ones that cheat all the time, and 50% of divorces, male perpetrator, female victim, then that is your narrative. How about another one? The woman's claiming infidelity because she's angling to divorce rape the man. This is her first step in her strategy to get as much as she can out of the divorce, to claim that the man's been unfaithful. All right? So now all your stats are skewed, aren't they? So you can't, you just insulted 50% of all men have been divorced. It's terrible.
Some other things are they married too young, there was unrealistic expectations, but something which is also very important, 1 in 4 divorces are filed because of domestic violence within the relationship.